And you're alive.
Thank you, Anthony. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Norwalk Public Library Board of Directors for May 2022. Present are Sharon Benanti, Mary Mann, Laurel Peterson, Janie Williams, Patsy Brescia, Morna Noor, myself, Alex Knopp. I heard Tom Cullen. Was he on the phone or?
I think he hadn't received the email, so he's going to try to log in.
Okay, well,
by phone.
He was here earlier, so we'll say that he was present. And Executive Director Sherelle Harris. So thank you very much and good evening. We have the agenda. First item of business is approval of the minutes of the special meeting of April 28th. I'm going to ask a favor if we could table that till the next meeting. I haven't had an opportunity to go over those in any detail yet, and then we had a pretty vigorous discussion. Would there be any objection to tabling these?
No, but I had a small correction. Can
Okay.
I make that at the end? And that is at the end under new business. I asked if we had a Narcon position or did that in our libraries, and the minutes just said defibrillator. But my request was that we look into the possibility of training people to do a Narcon.
Okay.
And then somebody else added defibrillator. So I think it's important for the minutes to make that change.
Sure. And we'll make other changes next month, but thank you, Patsy.
Mhm.
Okay, if there's no objection, those can be tabled. Any member of the public who is on board for a comment? Okay, seeing none. We'll go to the president's report. Let me jump down to item B. I'm sorry, let me jump down to item C. So on Monday, Patsy, Sherelle, and I met with Mayor Rilling, Lamont Daniels, and Leisha King, assistant to the mayor, to discuss what different departments and boards were doing to follow up on the efficiency study. And we agreed that to respect the mayor's wish to have a kind of uniform step for department heads to review the recommendations as the first cut before members of boards or agencies or common council, whatever, have a chance to make recommendations. And we agreed with that. So the next step would be for Sherelle to issue her comments and opinions. I think within the next week or two, there's a time frame that the mayor's office is set up for all department heads. And after that has occurred, then we will have a chance to review Sherelle's comments, and if we choose, issue our own recommendations on those and anything else that's in the report about the library. So unlike our expectation from last month's special meeting, there's not really anything tonight, I think, for us to discuss about the efficiency study, and simply to, again, wait for Sherelle's review of it. And that's occurring with every department head. And that seems to us a reasonable approach. So that's the follow-up. I just wanted to. So my memo was on the table, and it's therefore remains on the table. Next item is.
Alex,
I'm sorry, Pat.
we had another discussion about moving forward with position.
Oh, yes, I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
So one of the issues, as you may recall in the report, was, our interest over the last several months in at least being consulted on whether or not there would be a hire for a branch manager in lieu of an assistant director. And you may recall in the past, we had both a branch manager for Sono and an assistant director which I happen to think worked well, and the efficiency study itself recommended that. So pending those further reviews of the efficiency study, we all agreed, and Sherelle felt strongly about this, that we should move ahead with hiring the branch manager. And therefore, whether or not there would also be an assistant director is a decision to be made in the future. It was not agreed to, and it was not foreclosed. It remains an issue for the recommendation to the city. And Sherelle will be circulating a policy to make clear to the staff and to the board that when Sherelle is on vacation or ill or away at a conference, she will set up a rotation for the supervisors to decide on any given day which supervisor will be the de facto acting assistant director in her absence. And that way we'll know who to contact if there is a sort of an issue. And so we all agreed on that decision as well. Thank you, Patsy, for.
Yeah, and also that the money, it's in the budget for this position, and they're going to move forward on it. I think that was the bottom line.
Yes.
Yes. Score one for our team.
Good. Okay.
Can I ask a question about that? Are
Please.
there any other open positions that have been kind of halted? I'm just curious because I know it does seem like staffing is an issue. So I was just wondering if there are any other open positions and if we got any indication that they're, we could move forward with those. So.
Sherelle, would you like to comment? I'll simply say that there was no decision not to fill any open position.
Right, so there are 2 open positions that just closed. So waiting for those referrals to come over. And then there were some part-time referrals as well. The unfortunate thing with the library assistant position, it's fortunate and unfortunate. So at one point there was the library assistant, there was the description where there had to be 2 years library experience, which is the current description. At one point it was 2 years college. So that position, we're finding that we're just not finding great candidates. So we may have to rethink that one. So just say someone may come in with lots of experience, just say technological experience, programming experience, etc. But if they do not have the 2 years experience, they don't meet the criteria. So, but then if you go to the clerk position, which does not require 2 years library experience, you can get great people, but they can't do as much as the library assistant. So we may have to think about, revising those descriptions.
Okay, well, we'll be interested to have that discussion. But just so Mornay, to answer your question, there is no pending city decision not to fill an open position. As far as I know, all the open positions are fully funded in the budget. Would you say that's accurate, Cheryl?
I would.
Thank you. Okay, any more questions? Thank you. Next item is item 5A for action about the museum pass policy that Sherelle drafted and that I found very competent and well done. So Sherelle, do you want to make any comments about the
Sure.
policy?
So we hadn't in the past, we had a procedure, but not necessarily a policy that was approved by the board. And, we found not everyone, but we found that there's been some, misuse of the passes. People are they're returning them late and people are waiting for them. So, we worked on the policy. Everybody seemed okay with it, the circulation staff as well as the supervisors. And so this is what we are proposing to the board. And basically, again, it's, returning the passes late more than twice will result in losing the borrowing privileges. So I think that's probably the main thing. And if they're not returned, that they have to pay the full price of the pass.
Okay. Maybe it might be useful at the end of the kind of summer tourism season, at some point to go back and take a look and see how the policy actually worked and, make sure that we're as user-friendly as possible. But I thought it was a very good job of that. Anybody have any questions about the policy that's been drafted on the museum passes? Sharon?
Yeah, I just had two questions. One is, can people go in to reserve for a later date? Or are moms coming in at like 10 o'clock that day?
To pick the passes up,
Yeah,
they come in, they're not, you can't reserve them, so they come in to pick them up.
okay. What was my other question is a follow-up from last time. Where do we stand with the maritime passes?
So we were going to discuss that in foundation, but I'm not sure. So I have, as a matter, I keep calling the other person. She's not answering, so I'm looking to speak to their, I think it's the, hold on a second, the COO. Yeah, Dave Truton, their COO, just to see if there's a possibility that they might be able to work out a deal with the library per your suggestion.
Yeah, I love this program, and I know a lot of moms that really, have 3 or 4 kids, and they really need this, and it's great for them. So thank you.
No, I thought that was a good point too, because a lot of people, like I've donated, just so kids that might not be able to afford can go in, because some of the kids maybe, around that area may be priced out. So that was a really good point. So hopefully next time I'll have something a little more concrete.
And that makes me wonder, are the passes in both locations in South Norwalk and the main branch?
They are. I actually started this when I was a children's librarian. And then we started adding more and more and more when Divya took it over and started adding a few more. But yes, to your point, yes.
Okay.
And what we did this year, we made sure that, if we had one pass, they were in both places.
I do. I'm sorry, one more thing on that. I'm just looking forward, looking ahead. I do wonder if there's a way that technology can help solve the problem of, passes and returning physical passes. And if I don't know if anything like this exists or maybe someone in the technology department, like if you have a partnership with another organization, doesn't have to be such a physical exchange, but I don't know.
No, that's a good point.
That someone has to actually physically return something back as opposed to like, a day pass that's only.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, I thought you meant more like, how we have the online books and they could.
yeah,
just
or
be-
even that. I mean,
Okay.
I can't think of the solution, but it just definitely feels like there's some technological fix to like,
Yeah.
taking a physical pass, giving it
Print
to
it out, yeah.
someone, then having them to return it, and so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
then-
a QR code, right? Like a QR code or
Something, I know.
what you get on an airplane, right? Yeah.
What you get, when you buy a ticket for any place, you get a,
Yeah,
a
and then it
reservation.
expires,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and then you don't let down kids because you're like, oh, sorry, there's no pass, kids. Okay, everybody home.
Yeah,
That's a
good
great
point.
idea.
The only thing I know with I won't, call out the names of the organizations, but some of them may not have been, so gung ho to do it, maybe with the thought that they're losing money. So there's restrictions on what we can do. We can't just have, like 50 people like check it out at the same time. So there are restrictions. But I'll talk to the staff because they always have good ideas. And then I'll definitely keep working on maritime.
That's a great suggestion, Monia. And I'm really interested in at the end of the season, again, what the utilization was for the different passes to make sure that we're, putting the most money into the most popular passes and not putting a lot of money into passes that rarely get used. Like I'm still puzzled about the aircraft carrier in New York City, how often that gets used. Just kind of curious at the end of the season to see what that shows. All right, so sorry.
Before even doing this, I did poll the circulation staff just to see, what their thoughts were. They weren't keeping strict tabs, but anecdotally, I have a list of things that just totally were not going out, things that were very popular, which is why we did request a second pass to Stepping Stones. We did have, and a second pass for Beardsley Zoo, but there are some that just, were not going out. But we can double check again before I come back to the table asking again.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion to approve the museum policy as presented? All
I
right.
move, so move.
Moves, Patsy seconds. Any further discussion? If not, then all in favor, say aye. Or raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then it's approved unanimously.
No, aye,
Thank you, Tom.
right. Okay,
And we've noted your presence.
okay.
Now, somebody might go on mute or something. I'm getting some feedback.
Yeah, I'm experiencing it also.
Good. All right, thank you. The next item is the amendments to the Code of Conduct policy that are found in the director's report that Sherelle circulated. I must say, I found these very, very positive and very beneficial. And Sherelle, do you want to walk through what the changes are or the kind of addendum is?
Sure. So initially, we added an addenda because of COVID, something that we knew we wouldn't keep, it wouldn't be a part, permanent part of the code of conduct. But now that we've lifted the mask restrictions and things like that, I didn't think we still needed, these things up. We're not taking temperatures anymore. So I wanted to keep the addenda only to, make sure people know that we are still concerned, because of the number fluctuation, but I just, massaged it instead of saying we are, or we must. Basically, we're not checking for fevers, but we would ask that patrons who are sick or have a high fever, stay at home for their own safety as well as the safety of others. And that visitors who do not need to be in close proximity, such as, people who are tutoring and things like that may need that proximity, but if they don't, if they could, just social distance and, that they just, practice, proper hand hygiene and that we have the sanitizer at the library. So just while we're not, these are not mandates, we just are asking people to keep these things in mind. So that's for the addenda. And the, let's see. So I didn't really change a lot to the code of conduct. I just cleaned up some of the language just to make it clear.
So the real changes are in the
Or in the addenda.
Code of Conduct addenda, and you've written in handwriting proposed at the top.
Oh, yeah.
And then for the rest of the Code of Conduct, I don't detect any changes.
No, just some
Right.
cleaning up of
Right.
just to make it clear.
Right. Okay. Well, I have to say, I think you're putting this in the context of safety was very welcome. So this is on page 13 of Sherelle's director's report. Are there any questions for Sherelle or comments?
I had two suggestions. If you could just hear me out. So under unacceptable library customer behavior,
Mhm.
I don't know if you want to add or violation of any local, state, or federal law. And then the second recommendation is behavior that endangers safety or health of staff and patrons.
Let's see.
And I probably should have sent that in advance.
No, that's fine. I'm just looking, just. I thought we had something like that with staff or patrons.
Maybe,
Second.
or maybe because it's back in the other.
No, you know what? I'm sorry. That was the lack of personal hygiene. But to your, that would be great. We can add the same if you all agree. For staff or patrons. I had the lack of personal hygiene.
You want to just repeat those, Sharon, so everybody can,
Yeah, sure. I'm looking actually under the customer
Okay.
behavior.
As she does this, Sharon, once you make this in the form of a motion.
Okay. I'd like to motion to add these two areas. One is violation of any local, state, or federal law, and then behavior that endangers safety or health of staff and patrons.
I'm sorry, it was the safety and what?
Safety or health of staff and patrons.
Health, okay.
Yep. I can type it in the Q&A if you want.
I think I have it. And then, the safety and health.
Safety or health of staff and
Staff and
patrons.
patrons.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
The
nice, Sharon.
violations of local, state, and federal law.
Yeah, and I know I just motioned for that, Alex. I just have one more comment.
Please.
Under consequences of unacceptable behavior, I wanted to ask about if we could possibly add this. NPL and Sherelle, you know all the laws. NPL reserves the right to bar patrons from the library indefinitely pending severe and or repeat offenses that put the safety of staff and patrons at risk. And I say this because I look at the repeat customers you have with the pornography that we talked about and the people coming in with the videos. And I don't know if that would help. So I'll repeat it again. NPL reserves the right to bar patrons from the library indefinitely pending severe and or repeat offenses that put the safety of staff and patrons at risk.
All right. Anybody else have any comments?
I know it's a lot, it's a lot.
It is, I'm not
Concerned
necessarily.
about the word
in favor of-
indefinite.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about
That word.
Okay,
Well, there already is in the existing,
Yeah.
the 6-month
Yeah, period.
expulsion for a third violation. So Sharon, you feel that is not sufficient?
I feel that if there are people using the pornography and doing things in the library with children and adults around and women, that we should have the right to remove them from the library. I just feel like it's unsafe to have them back.
Yeah, well, I think they can already be removed.
Just for 6 months though, right?
Mhm.
According to this.
Right.
I just want to,
Yes, and when, I kind of think when we start saying barring indefinitely, we might be opening up another some sort of legal ramifications that you may want to look into, Sherelle, because you're going on staffing or whatever, somebody else's word, versus is it legally binding indefinitely? Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know how to describe it. I think we might want to be careful with that wording. Let me just put it like that.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the word. They can always appeal, but Sharon, one thing when you said that, what I just thought of is maybe just say, to your point of pornography, if you know, we ban them for the 6 months and someone comes back with that same behavior, maybe we ban them another 6 months as opposed to going through the cycle again. So just say like somebody's banned for 6 months, they come back in, they're doing the same thing instead of, okay, now we're banning you for the rest of the day and then a month and then 6 months. It can just maybe automatically be another 6 months.
Okay. I think for me, just from a risk management perspective, anything that puts your staff and patrons at risk, you should have an out for it. But I'll leave that to everyone else. I just wanted to bring that up. And I did grab it actually off another library site because I was looking at it.
Well, I think your first motion, Sharon, which is very good, would include any viewing of child pornography, which is illegal per se.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a violation per se, and violation of certainly state law and federal law. I mean, look at the discussion about the confirmation of Supreme Court Justice Jackson recently. So can I suggest that we hold the last one and think about it a little bit more and consider the two first ones you made as friendly amendments to the proposed code?
Yeah, I mean, it works for me, but I do, because I did miss that meeting about the pornography, but I will follow up.
Okay,
Okay.
And then just so you know that there's the pornography is in like where, let's see, the 1, 2, 3. Well, let's go from the bottom. The third bullet from the bottom, misuse of physical and electronic materials. In the internet acceptable use policy, that's where the pornography is in there.
Yes, and that was the meeting I missed.
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying to wrap it up in here. Okay.
Gotcha.
I'll follow up offline, but yeah, let's just move forward with the first two.
all right, so I would consider those friendly amendments to the proposed addendum unless there's any objection. Okay, well, so seeing none. So there's any more discussion about the addendum? And then Sherelle, I assume that we would, every couple of months, or if there's any change in the city's health directives about COVID, we would come back and consider
Okay.
updating or changing the addendum.
Definitely.
Okay, that's good.
I have just a couple of questions. So in the current one, it looks like there's only one door that's open. Are we back to everything? Are both doors being
Both
open?
doors are open.
Okay, I just wanted to know about that. And then the second part is, the consequences of unacceptable behavior. I'm just like, is there, I just wanted to like a little description of how that works. Like, do we, how is it enforced?
Sure.
I guess I just
So
wanted
what
to know.
happens is the security guard would let the person know that you have to leave for the rest of the day. And if it happens again, then you'll be barred for 1 month. And so they write it up, they write an incident report, which I get, and we keep one at his station, and I keep track of them. And then, again, if it's the second time that name comes up again, they're barred for 1 month. Again, there's another incident report. And the third time, then they're barred for the 6 months. But each step of the way, there's an incident report.
Okay.
Could we consider making that a year instead of 6 months? I mean, is there any reason why it's 6 months?
I can't remember when we came up with it. I guess we thought that would be enough time for them to consider their behavior. So we could do that. We could jump from 1 month to 6 months, or we could leave it at 6 months and then make the or to Sharon's point originally, maybe not
Yeah.
indefinitely, but just say that if it happens again, then it's another 6 months. But
Okay,
I'm okay either way.
Could I suggest that we keep it as it is and that we ask Sherelle to report to the board about suspensions, how many and for what cause and for what period of time? And then if it looks like, we're being overwhelmed with people who are abusing or who are willing to repeat offend because the penalty isn't a deterrent, then we can deal with that later. Why don't we start out with this and see what the response is?
That makes sense.
And could I ask, and I thank Moina for raising this issue. At the bottom of the consequences section, it says appeals of any penalty may be made in writing to the library director. So I guess two questions. One is, Sherelle, do you want to have that authority? And second, do members of the board want to have any role in hearing an appeal from a penalty that, after all, has been imposed by Sherelle and the staff? I'm just questioning whether or not it makes sense to appeal to the sort of head of the department that imposed the penalty in the first place.
I think it's important that takes place, and that's something that we've always had. This is nothing new. However, if they're not in agreement, maybe we can add that they can go to the board. Because we're involved with the day-to-day. So, if it's something that they don't agree, and I can't see, if someone takes the time to appeal, that they, haven't either thought of their consequences, or they may say that a staff person was unfair. So, I mean, I like that, but I think it's okay if we want to add, that if they're not,
You left the lights on in your
happy with
I'll go turn them off. Can you give me my keys?
the results, that they can appeal. I don't consider it an authority. I just consider it a day-to-day process.
Any other comment? Just, I don't know, as a lawyer, I guess it makes me a little uneasy that you would appeal to the person who imposed the penalty.
Well, it's not the person who opposed it, it's their behavior that opposed it, and it's also the guard that opposed it. But I'm fine with, whatever.
No, I don't want the board to have to do these things, but I'm just thinking whether, what makes sense from a public point of view about how the procedure should work.
How do you want me to do it?
Has there been a problem in the past?
I
And
think
if not,
Chris may have had maybe two appeals, but no.
so,
I recall one when Chris was here. I know she asked me about it. Maybe you could just ask me, not the whole board. And I had to write a paragraph to the offender explaining why she would be suspended.
That could be a hybrid. I could, I certainly don't operate in a silo, so I could always ask you and ask the city as well.
Okay, well, I just raised the issue of, is it a meaningful appeal or not? Okay, any further discussion about the,
What did Sherelle say before about about who imposes the penalty? I mean, Sherelle as director may not be getting involved in every one of these situations, so therefore,
So basically,
she could
it's
be
the
the
guard.
first level appeals adjudicator, so to speak. If she's not involved in imposing the penalty to begin with.
but I'm sure, Sherelle, doesn't the staff review before they impose a 6-month suspension?
So the guard is, he's authorized so like I said, we have, just say if Janie Williams commits you know, to say no, we don't want to say you're looking at porn. Just say she's talking loud. We ask her to leave, the guard asks her to leave one day. So she comes back, she does it again. He has that report where he can see that she did it this one time. So now she's doing it again. So now he's authorized to, you know, have her banned for the month. And in any of these cases, someone can always appeal, and then the third time. So I don't necessarily have to always be there. This is what we hire the guard firm to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. That Sherelle's not on the front line for enforcement.
No.
Okay. Well, again, why don't we sort of see how, Tom, I think you may need to yourself or something if we're getting some feedback. Yeah, I think it may be, again, let's see how this works out. How many cases occur, and, you know, sometime in the future, review whether or not it's working.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What did you want me to do? I was muted, unmuted, and I'm, you know, there.
I thought we get some feedback from your audio somehow.
What there is when I'm unmuted?
There isn't now, but sometimes when you're unmuted, you get the feedback.
Okay.
Okay, well, are there any more suggestions for changing the proposed addendum as modified already by Sharon's two additions? Okay. If not, would there be a motion to approve the addendum as modified? Mary moves.
I'll second.
Patsy seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then the Code of Conduct addendum as modified is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sherelle. That concludes my part of the agenda. Recognize Sherelle.
Hello, hello, hello. So you guys had me busy from the last meeting. To Patsy's point about the Narcan training that wasn't in the minutes, I'm happy to say that we will not only have Narcan training, but we will also have suicide prevention training, with this being May is Mental Health Month. And so I in the packet, you'll see the multiple dates, you know, for the suicide prevention training, but we also have secured some dates for the Narcan training. So each supervisor, because obviously everybody can't go at the same time, so supervisors have spoken to their staff and designated the dates that the staff will go, and then those staff members can report back. So we're all set with both.
Were the staff amenable to doing it? Or was it, were they comfortable?
Like they were, because I didn't go directly to the staff. I went through the supervisors, and I got responses right away.
Good, good.
Yeah,
I'm happy to hear that.
I didn't hear anything negative at all.
Great.
Again, and Sherelle, maybe like with some other stuff, you could let us know from time to time, for example, how many utilizations of Narcan occurred within, a period of time at both facilities.
Okay.
How do we pay for that?
We don't. We're going under the city.
Okay. Okay.
And so 2 of the trainings are in person and the other 2 are online.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. And then you also saw that we are partnering with Positive Directions. And then we have children's mental health. It's called Gizmo Weed Aloud. And, that'll just be a children's version of, mental health. And both of those are on May 14th. The main library will be 12 to 1 and South Norwalk is 2 to 3. And that's also, it should be in your packet. And then for the adults, we have May 19th at the main library. And that's the evening 6 to 7. And May 24th at Sono from 6 to 7. And so you have the presenters and they'll have a little, we did this once before at Sono many years ago, but they have a brief video just to, loosen everyone up and then, they talk about the, mental health. Any questions?
I just want to say that's terrific. I love it. More mental
Yeah.
health programs. We love it. It's great job.
But they do a phenomenal job too, so I'm really happy to partner with them. They do a really good job. And Sharon, leading to you with your permanent, your point was well taken when you said for the second or third time. So the staff are looking into it. I gave them until June to just find some permanent things and come up with some choices. So hopefully in June, I'll have something to report back with some nice pictures and things. So
Fantastic.
it's happening.
Yes.
It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. So we talked about the mental health programs. We're having our windows washed this week, and I can see the difference. So they're washing, the internal windows, just not the ones that are even outside, but they're also, washing outside, the inside of the ones that also look outside, but also like staff areas that just have the windows, like maybe an office or something. They're washing those too. So that's that. And then the hybrid board meetings. So they're still working on it. So there's a cost associated with it. So right now, the council, they have the hybrid board meetings because the cameras are in the council chambers, but like they would have to come and put the cameras in our library in order for us to have the facility. So they're just waiting. We're not the only ones that are waiting. There's others that are waiting too, but they're waiting for the funding. And that's the major thing.
Is there any federal funding available for that kind of adaptation, do you think?
I'm sure they're looking into it. It's, the IT and, yeah, so it's the IT department, but I'm sure that they're looking into it, but I guess we could look into it too. But even for our meetings, if we wanted to go back to in person, because before we were not on camera, but whoever wants to, whoever can't be in person, we can always have a laptop or we can have, a computer, and they can still be with us via Zoom, and the secretary can, who's in person can still, record. She can see who's in the meeting. So we could always do that.
Yeah, I think we used to have people call in once in a while.
Exactly.
Even in
Yeah.
pre-COVID.
So we could always do that.
Yeah, my experience has been, first of all, that people who have health concerns has to be respected. And that unfortunately, without that technology that Sherelle's talking about, it's pretty difficult to follow along in a meeting from a laptop in the room while 7 people are in the room together to hear who said what and what they say. And,
It would be virtually the same thing because what they would do, they would be looking at us, you know, as a group, but it would be virtually almost the same thing.
Yeah, okay. So you'll keep us abreast of the IT department's, you know, recommendations. Okay,
Definitely.
okay. Thank you.
And that was it for me.
Okay. I just remind people we have two guest speakers for the foundation, so I'm glad we have a pretty brief agenda tonight. Any old business people would like to bring up? Sharon?
I just had something really quick. We talked about open positions earlier being filled. And I wanted to ask you, is it possible or when the plan was to open up more evenings?
So once, my goal actually is September, because I'm thinking we should have, you know, proper staffing by then. And the other thing is, you know, we're getting more room bookings that want to go past 7, you know, because people are just getting off 5:30, you know, they get to a meeting 6 to 6:30 and it's already over. So we're looking at possibly extending the hours back, if not to 8:30, at least until 8. But
Okay,
when we're ready, I'll propose it, you know, before we're ready.
good.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I just wanted to know if we're going to at some point see the survey results or what the timeline is on that.
Yeah, I was thinking of letting it go through the end of June. I haven't even looked at them, so thank you. But I was thinking of letting it go until the end of June.
Okay.
Because in all honesty, I wanted to send it to the schools. I haven't done that, so thank you for that, just so we can get more. I haven't even looked at it, I'll be honest. But does that sound? okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll help inform whatever
Oh,
planning,
without a doubt.
you know, like kind of just thinking about long-term planning post-COVID, you know,
Mhm.
so.
Well, Sherelle, since our meeting in June will be early in June, you know, relatively early, maybe you could give us an update on how many responses to the survey we've received by then.
Okay.
That might help us decide how long to keep it going for.
Got it. I do have just one quick thing if no one else has anything.
Please.
So I got a request earlier. I'm just going to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I got a request from Shama Maital. She is helping out. She's helping me train. She has these yarn dolls, which you see here. This is an event that was at Star. And this is her. No, this is her. This is Shama. So this was an event that Star. She sells these. And then some of the money goes to Star. Star is, you know, they're purchasing like the toiletries and different things to send there. And then some of the money also goes to, what's it called? Let's just see this thing really quickly. Can you see the video?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure before it goes on.
I'm supporting the people in the by selling handcrafted beautiful yarn dolls. All the proceeds from sales go to International Refugee Committee in New York. I donate directly all the proceeds to IRC. Star Inc. organization in Norwalk, Connecticut that works to support and advocate for people with disabilities is collecting basic necessities for the people in Ukraine. I will be using some of the proceeds to buy these necessities to be donated to Ukraine.
So, let's stop this thing. So, oh, sorry, hold on. So she basically wants to put a table at the Main and a table at Sono to sell her dolls. So I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
So she would be at the table selling the dolls?
She would be, correct.
Okay. Well, I'll give you my comments. I'm interested to hear what other people have to say. Obviously, it's a cause we could all support. The problem is, what do you do when somebody comes in and says they want to set up a table in order to fund challenges to the 2020 election?
Mm.
And then you start getting into discrimination based on content, which is what brings in the First Amendment concerns. So maybe what we ought to think about is to see, Sherelle, if you wouldn't mind contacting the Connecticut Library Association or the American Library Association to see if you can find any policies governing the sale by a nonprofit of items to fundraise for causes. I think to do this without having that policy opens us up to a charge of discrimination if we approve one and not the other based on the content.
Mhm.
And as you may recall, that's what the city law department was concerned about when we asked them recently about something similar. Are there other comments people would like to make?
Yeah, Sherelle, question. Don't you sometimes have like a showcase theme? Maybe you could showcase it and also give information in case somebody wants to purchase it, but you're not really selling it. They can take the information from there and that's up to them, but you're not really selling it. You're just showcasing it.
That might be the same premise too. If someone else, another organization comes and wants us to do that, I'm not sure.
But you've done that before, because even with the miniature things,
Right.
you had that miniature furniture, whatever,
I don't
right?
think he was selling though.
No, he's not selling it, but I mean that in that kind of way. People
Gotcha.
saw it, and then if they were interested in it, they could ask questions about it. Who can we contact? I would like interested in that. Who can I contact? But you're not selling it. You're just
Just doing that.
showcasing it.
That might be a thought, but I'll ask for a donation at the next meeting. Maybe we can purchase some and maybe just give them away.
That's an idea. Maybe the foundation could, that presents the same kind of after effect.
Mm.
Fortunate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think this is the kind of thing where we may need to consult the law department.
Yeah.
Okay.
But more just as an open question, like it does, I don't know, raise the question of how can the library support, the tragedy in Ukraine without, making it like about selling something or,
I'll talk about that at the next meeting.
I have one question. Is there any update on the South Norwalk construction project?
So I was going to have them come to this meeting, but Alex made a really good point. We should probably have the discussion with Alan, with Alan and Neil. So once that, I think maybe the next meeting, I can bring them before the board. So they've already given me some dates. I just have to reach out to Alan and Neil. Neil has already done a walkthrough. We brought him on in the initial phases. And Neil, for those of you who don't know, is Guardian. They take care of our buildings, of the city buildings. And so, yeah, so maybe the next meeting.
Thank you.
That you want to change in furniture.
What color? It was just the color. I thought it was.
No, I didn't tell him that. I'm just joking.
I'm colorblind, so I'm careful never to issue an opinion about Anything. Okay, any new business? If not, before we end, Janie, what arrangements did you make about Lori? What time did you suggest to her?
I did send her the link.
Yeah, she's coming in at 8 o'clock.
Okay, and I think I told Stephen Bencover between 8 and 8:30, so maybe we can do Lori first and then go to Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Could we do that at the beginning of the foundation meeting as a courtesy to our guests? Instead of having them wait till the end of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, that's what we'll do then. All right, is there a motion to adjourn the Board of
I
Directors?
shall move.
Thank you, Patsy.
I second.
There seconds. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Electors are adjourned. See you next month.
Aye.
Okay, we'll see you in 2 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Anthony.